Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Business Casual, a Knowmium webinar where we interview interesting people with interesting jobs. Today, we're joined by Asha, Sridhar.
Hi.
And I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What's your company?
Thank you so much, Bob. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure being here today. My name is Asha Sridhar. I run a freelance HR consulting firm in Hong Kong. It's called Chrysalis Consulting. Why Chrysalis? Because Chrysalis is the process of change. And I strongly believe that change is the only constant. So, any behavior change is a change. Any learning and development is a change. So that's why Chrysalis Consulting. We've been around for 4 years now. We have an office in Hong Kong. We have an office in India. We primarily do three main areas of work. One is HR consulting in the field of talent management, things like performance management processes. We also do people development, organizational development. And the third area that we've just started doing is on business process efficiencies. My business partner in India is a Six Sigma certified person who's got Black Belt certification. So we've been doing a few projects around business process efficiencies, helping businesses become more efficient and effective.
Excellent. That is a very healthy roster of things that you do.
Thank you.
Now, just in your overall work, is there anything you would like the general business audience or even the global audience that may not be in business? What are some insights or facts that you would like people to know about your line of work?
A lot of times I get the, people say that training is useless. And they say that because they feel they go on a training program, they have a good time, but then they go back and nothing changes. So people tend to forget. And that can be true. At the same time, I think people need to realize that it's what you put in is what you take out, right? And training or coaching, obviously it depends a lot on the individual and how much commitment they have to the whole process of change, right? What people also don't realize is that I think we put in a lot of work as trainers. We just don't show up on fine day and, be our usual charming selves, but a lot goes into it, just like I'm sure you know as well. There's a lot of work we do in terms of preparing. There's a lot of design work we need to put in. There's a lot of elements we need to think about in terms of learning styles, who's coming on board, language, cultures, lots of stuff that's going on there. And so it hurts when people say that training is useless. I get why they say that. And so we're trying to make a lot of things different now from that perspective. What I also get out of this whole business, why I'm here and why I'm so passionate is the people element. So actually watching people have those aha moments, as we call them, it's just so incredibly humbling. And just having people remember the work that we did with them even a few years later. And I get feedback from people who were like, I was in a workshop that you did in Egypt a few years ago, and I'm still using the spiritual technique that you shared with us. It just feels so rewarding.
Nice. I find that scary when I hear other people say, training's useless. I don't need that. Everyone can communicate. And what you find is if you observe them on the job or you ask other people how do they communicate or how they're working together, it's not as common as people think.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head, because that's the huge blind spot that all of us have, right, Bob? I mean, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't know what the impact I'm having on other people unless I ask. And many of us don't really ask. We don't ask, what's the impact I'm having on people, right? So we just go ahead thinking that, hey, I'm here and I think I'm being really great, which means that I'm being great.
Or they're just being nice. we know you're great.
I am.
Well, and I know you're great, not only because I know you personally, but because you mentioned if people say training is useless or they haven't used it, they went and they had fun and they come back and how did they apply it? That means they went through the wrong training program or the training program wasn't tailored to their needs. Where is the application? And I'm not talking about you as a trainer.
No, I know.
other training programs with other firms may not have the application process. Where do they?
Possibly, or also, I think one of the things that we tend to forget, and when I speak to my clients, I tell them that training cannot fix all the evils in your organization, right? Training can go a certain way, but it's just one of the many things. A lot of times when organizations call me to have a conversation, they go, "Oh, blah 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 is broken." Like for example, a client recently said that the chief of the organization doesn't receive any feedback from the people under him, so the people under him need to be given training on how to give feedback. And I go, does he know how to receive feedback? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just training people for the sake of training people. It's also about what processes do you have. So again, another organization was talking about having a policy around having more inclusive organization. So my question to them was, right, so let's say that I have been, as a woman, harassed in your organization, which apparently happens. And I come to HR and I've made a formal complaint. What happens after that? And they go, we give the person a warning. What happens to me then? Because I have to go back and continue working with that person. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that is that feeling of insecurity going to persist? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not because of anything that I haven't done, but because your process is incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
So my point is that whilst training is good, and as a trainer I'm saying this, training is great, it's not the panacea for all evils. You need to have other things in place in order for training to be more effective. And so when somebody tells me that training is useless, I say to them, yes, and it's in your hands to make it useful.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned getting feedback, giving feedback. This is something that you have a lot of experience with. What would you like to share? Can you give us some deeper insights into how feedback can be effective? How can we strategically make it part of our process?
Yeah.
In our whether it's individually or with our counterparts at work.
You've kind of touched upon my passion point here, so just be prepared. So, first of all, I think it's important to understand what our beliefs about feedback are. A lot of people think of feedback as being negative. Feedback is nothing. It's neither negative nor positive. Feedback is just the response to my communication, right? So at the moment, as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at you and I seem to get the feeling from you that you are interested. That's the feedback I'm getting from you. So it's neither positive nor negative. What happens when we give feedback is a lot of times, actually most of the time, many leaders do not realize that they tend to overgeneralize the feedback they're giving. And they make it into this big deal, actually, which it is not. So instead of saying to somebody that, when you come into work late, the impact on me is this. I feel that when you start a meeting late, it's disrespectful to me. You always start a meeting late. Right? Or you are always late for everything. And so the receiver, so if I were to say that to you, Bob, you're always late for everything, Bob. What's the first thing that goes on in your mind?
I'm not always late. You're wrong.
Exactly.
I just get defensive.
Exactly. Or you start thinking, hang on, 2 days ago, I was early for the meeting and you don't recognize that. So you start to feel annoyed. You start to feel, probably like you said, on the defensive. So I put you on the back foot. And typically people on the back foot are not listening.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you've closed yourself, or I've closed myself off as well if I'm getting feedback like that. So the first thing about giving feedback is to think about the impact that behavior has had on you personally. Take accountability for giving that feedback. So rather than saying you've made me feel that way, it's I feel that way. It's my feeling, right? That's the main thing. So I really believe that people need to learn how to give that kind of situational feedback, as I call it, or data-based feedback, where you separate the intention of that individual from the impact. So the intention of the person was not to be disrespectful, but that was the impact of it, right? So people, I always say this to my coachees as well, my clients, I say to them, nobody wakes up in the morning and say, all right, I'm going to go and screw this person over today. That's not the intention that most of us get up in the morning with, right? We all have good intentions, primarily, but we do things that have a negative impact on other person. Right? So if that person were to tell me that what you did, I don't know why you did it, and that's not important. What's important is this is how I'm feeling about it. It at least opens up the doors to a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right?
Especially, and I like this point about having that conversation, because it's recognizing what's happened, how I personally feel, but then what are the steps? Now, sometimes this is easy. Yes. It's like, oh, please don't be late anymore. Yeah. Please don't be late. That's easy. Well, we say it's easy, but it is to the point. Yeah. A lot of these problems where we're giving feedback, they're complex.
Yes.
And I may not have
the answers.
I may not have the answers. I'm giving feedback, but we need that conversation to explore what can we both do to make sure we're not only getting along but solving these problems.
Sometimes it also, as a leader, I think it just being open and showing that vulnerability by saying, I don't have the answer, help me out here, how can I help you? Or even saying, what can I do differently for this to happen for you? That is a great way of showing respect, and that just opens up the doors to a much more positive environment as well.
Excellent. Well, you just mentioned a key word I wanted to talk about today, being a leader. I mean, of course, all this is about leadership, but there's a question we received on social media from Ardini, who is in Singapore, and she writes, do you think it is better to be a leader in a small group or a follower in a big group, and why? She adds that, and why?
Why? Ardini, thank you so much for your question. It's a very interesting question. And I think you'll probably have to excuse me if I kind of expand on that a little bit more. A follower can be a leader, because I strongly believe that each one of us is a leader. Who is a leader at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. A leader is not defined by the followers that they have, but a leader is defined by who they are, right? So I've known some amazing leaders who are not managers, but who really, who took accountability for what they were saying and doing, who were great influencers, who had this, what Ken Blanchard has called as personal power. Ken Blanchard's written this beautiful book in which he's talking about the points of power, and he's talking about the personal power versus position power. Mm-hmm. So a leader is not defined by the position power that they have. A leader is defined by the personal and the relationship powers that they have. Okay, which means how likely are people to listen to what I have to say, and how likely are they to get influenced by what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I can be a leader within a large group or within a small group. I can be a leader without having to be a manager. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, coming to Ardini's question, is it better to be I would then reword it to say it's a leader in a large group. I would say leader or manager of a small group versus an individual contributor in a large group. Mm-hmm. Because those are the hierarchical structures that we have in organizations, right? Managers and stuff. And I would say that it doesn't matter what you are. What matters is where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Where are you on your career path? There are lots of options in career paths where you might have to be an expert. What's subject matter expert? Mm-hmm. Where being a manager might not necessarily be part of your career growth, right? Whereas there may be opportunities, or there may be career choices where being a manager is part and parcel of your career growth. Mm-hmm. So I would say you need to first think what excites you, what is it you want to do, and then look at which career path you want to choose. Mm-hmm. Then in that case, then if you think that being a manager is the right thing for you, then start off small, manage a small group first, earn your stripes. I think that's an American phrase, isn't it? Earn your stripes, and then carry
like
on.
The military stripes,
yes,
right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's not just the United States that uses that system.
Is it? Okay.
It may be a term from the United States, but the military stripes are not a uniquely American thing.
Okay. So earn your stripes, earn your military stripes.
Anyone can earn those stripes, yes.
But yeah, I mean, if you're being a manager for the first time, start small. Mm-hmm. And then learn, and then continue to grow.
And I think touching on that, part of Ardini's question saying, being a follower in a big group. This is probably getting off track a little bit, but in the social media world, I think we have, especially the younger generation, has this expectation that everything may need to be successful. We are only looking at those leaders, whether it's a small group or a large group. Where is the value of being a follower in a small group? If you've entered into a new market, into a new job, into a new sports team, don't expect to be the leader right away. Take those opportunities to be in a new group, even if it's a large or small group, it doesn't matter. Be a follower sometimes, because even if you're a leader in one group of people, if you're a follower in another, you might learn a lot about your leadership style when you step away from it.
Absolutely, and there's no might about it. I think it's what you just said is, it's so true, it's so right. One cannot be a leader all the time. And one has to be a follower at times in order to learn and then go on. So even if you take all the famous leaders of our times, be it Mr. Mandela, be it Gandhi, they learned from the people that were their followers, right? They weren't just standing there and going, okay, just follow me because I know what I'm doing. It doesn't work like that, and especially in the more complex business world that we are all in these days, it's not going to work like that. Believe me, one cannot always be a leader. One has to have those elements where you're following because you're learning from watching other people, and you're going to have subject matter experts. You're going to have technical experts within your team who know far more than you do, and you've got to rely on them as well.
Absolutely, excellent. Thank you for that.
I hope that answered your question, Aditi.
I think it did. And if not, we can have her follow up in the comments of this video and say what we were missing. Well, I want to get to one more social media question while we're here today. Tim in Boston says, how do you manage your time? Now, I'm not sure if he means you personally, or if he means what are some tips for other leaders to manage their maybe their work-life balance or their time management.
Do you know, one of the interesting things that are being talked about these days is that time is instead of managing time, manage your energy, right? Because time is finite, energy is infinite. And you can manage your energies by knowing, again, things like what works for you, right? And so, for example, I know that for me personally, I'm far more energetic mentally during the morning hours. So if I have to then do something that requires a lot of my energy, then I tend to do during morning hours, right? Funnily enough, anything that I need to do creatively, like designing a program or anything that involves creativity, I am really good at doing that towards the evening. Right? So it's just about knowing your energy. First of all, that's really worked for me, because then it's not about then saying, oh my God, I need to manage my time, so I have to have an hour to do this, and I'm going to do that at 9 in the morning. It's so important and urgent is important to have. At the same time, it's also important to know, when am I going to be at my creative best? When am I going to be at my best for that particular task? That's really important to know. The other thing that I have really found useful for me personally is to give myself breaks after a certain amount of time, because I just like that. I like to get up and walk around. That's the kind of person that I am. So I think a lot of it, Tim, to answer your question, goes back to knowing yourself better. So just know yourself, just understand what works for you. Don't go by what works for other people, but what works for you. And there are things that all of us have to do which we personally may not like. I absolutely hate filing. And I procrastinate, I put that off to the very last minute. But then I think it's about also trying to figure out what's the best way of getting it done, right? And if you're in one of those lucky places where you can have somebody else do it for you, then find the other person who can do it for you, who takes pleasure in doing it, rather than you have to do it because it's such a chore for you to do. With my leaders, I basically, when I'm coaching them on prioritization, this is exactly what I say. The only other thing that I coach them on is something as basic as, a lot of them, they have Outlook, they use Outlook for their emails, for example. Each time an email comes up, it pops up as a pop-up message on their desktop.
Mhm.
Just turning that one off is a huge time saver.
And are they allowed to turn that off though? Because sometimes people come back and go, "Why aren't you answering my messages?"
Yeah. So that then comes back to how do you set those expectations with your stakeholders. In this part of the world, a lot of the times, a lot of my clients, they work with their stakeholders, internal clients, are in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can use that time difference to their advantage a lot of times. So but it's about setting that expectation with their clients up front, which is again a coaching moment because a lot of people don't know how to set those expectations. So I think it's like I said, I say to them, just a couple of things. One is turn off that thing that pops up, the message pops up. The other thing is create a separate folder for emails where you're being CC'd on, right? And give yourself 3 slots in a day when you open that particular mailbox, rather than opening it every few minutes.
Okay,
right?
I like that one.
And a lot of my clients have told me that those 2 tips have been like huge time savers for them.
I haven't tried the one with the emails. I have a great filing system for my emails, but I haven't done the particular CC method. I might try that.
Yeah, just try that and see how it works for you.
Excellent.
So that's exactly what I used to do as well. Where you have those little downtimes in your day.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you reserve for your checking your CC mails.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
And again, Tim, same thing. If there's more you want to know, let us know in the comments.
Just leave a comment and then we'll.
And we're going to have your contact information, your website, everything in the description as well. So
yeah, so then they can reach out to me anytime.
Absolutely, yes. All right. One more thing. Do you have a 1 or 2 minute story that you could share? Something interesting that's happened during training or consulting that we might find insightful or humorous?
Yeah, lots actually. The one that comes to my mind is I am a stickler for time.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like for my training programs to start on time and to end on time because I believe that people's time is precious, and I don't like to then get people to be waiting for them to come. Now, unfortunately, a lot of countries that run training programs in time is a bit more fluid. So what we do is just make it a bit of a game. So I say to people that at the start of the program that if you're late, can we agree that we do something like a bit of a song and dance, something like that. And everybody's usually very happy to participate in that. It's just good fun. Like in China, for example, we get people to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in Chinese.
Is this something they already know, or do you have to teach that to them?
No, I wouldn't be able to teach Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in Chinese.
Well, maybe you could teach it in English, and then they have to translate it themselves.
Well, no, they know it.
they know it. Okay.
So I say to them usually, like, we'll get you to sing a nursery rhyme in Chinese, or it could be even like something like "Happy Birthday to You," or something that's just generic. And the idea is that the person who's coming in late feels a bit embarrassed about doing it, and so potentially would not repeat it, right? And at the same time, we're not making them feel like really bad about themselves. Everybody's having a bit of fun in the morning. So I was in Turkey, and there was this young lady who was coming in late chronically. I mean, so the first couple of times I was like, okay, just take it a little easy. And then the third time she came in, I was like, fine. So we had this conversation. So I need you to now sing a Turkish song for all of us. She goes, okay, all right. And I go, what's going on? So the other said, oh, she's a great singer. And I was like, all right, that kind of defeats the whole purpose. So I said, all right. I said, no song. I need you to do a dance for us. And she said, okay, all right, let's get some music on. And then I learned she is a trained belly dancer. And I was like, okay, off you go. just do us a dance. Let's all enjoy it. And so we played some beautiful music, and she was an amazing dancer, so graceful. But it kind of defeated the whole purpose, but she got the message. Because after that, she was early for every session. She wasn't late.
Excellent.
And funnily, she got in touch with me on Facebook a few months back. And she was, do you remember how you made me do a belly dance in one of the training programs? I was like, yes, I remember that. It was funny.
And if she remembers that, she may be remembering some of the other things from that program as well. Those
Yep.
little things that stand out, even if they're fun, they're creative, they're entertaining, but that still makes a reference point for the other actual content, the other ideas.
Yeah, no, I think, that's what we all hope for, isn't it? As trainers, that people remember and they're using some of the things that they learned. That's what you hope for.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, our time is coming to a close.
Oh, that was quick.
It was. Well, it's been about 25 minutes, actually.
Seriously?
Yeah, it has. So I would like to thank you first for being here. We're going to put all your information, links, email in the description. And those of you watching, if you have any follow-up questions, or if you'd like to suggest a topic, a business leader, or you yourself would like to be on an episode of Business Casual, just let us know. Reach out to us anytime. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we leave?
I just want to say thank you, Bob. This has been a pleasure, and I really have enjoyed being on this show here with you. I just hope it was useful for all your listeners as well.
I think it was.
Thank you.
Thank you.